Okay, so in this video we are going to talk about garden weeds and companion planting and something that is known as allelopathy. Okay, so we all know that when you see weeds in your garden, you generally have to pull weeds because they crowd out the plant and they do this and they do that, and we just want to get them out of the garden because we don't like them, whatever the reason is. But one of the main reasons why weeds are actually no good in your garden is because of something known as allelopathy. I think that's how you properly pronounce it, or allelopathy. It's not allelopathy, the medical condition or the medical thing that they're talking about. I will put the correct spelling of it in the description so you can do a little research on your own. I think there's a website that talks about it in depth and you can go look into it. It's not a technically accepted practice or concept in the world of botany because there's not a whole lot of science to back it, though there is some scientific proof that allelopathic effects does take place in the garden. So you're probably wondering, what is allelopathy by now? Okay, so what allelopathy is it can either benefit a plant or it can harm a plant. And what happens is one plant will produce a chemical to either enhance the plants that are next to it or other species of plants, or it's going to produce a chemical to choke off the other plants so its species can survive. And this is known as allelopathy in a very basic form. I'm not going to get into all the details of it, but you get the gist of what I'm talking about when we're talking about allelopathy. You've heard of companion planting, right? You plant your carrots next to tomatoes, or there's the three sisters, which is corn, I believe squash, and beans. That's the three sisters method. They seem to work very good together. They promote each other's growth. And so that would be considered a positive allelopathic effect. You're actually seeing enhancement from the other plants are benefiting from their whole cycle together. Whereas something that would be like anti-allelopathic would be something that is just generally negative. Like weeds, for example. You ever notice even a plant with like one or two weeds that are growing really close to it, next to it, it'll stunt out that other plant and that weed will grow incredibly fast and quick and outpace the larger plant that it's next to, choking it off. You wonder why it does that. Well, that's because the weed is probably producing a chemical to stunt all the plant life around it, except for its own species, so that plant can actually really dominate the area of where it grows. And that's one of the real main reasons why when you're in your garden, you really want to pull weeds, because like I say, there's not a lot of science on this, so we don't know what weeds or plants are going to benefit your vegetable crops or which ones are going to harm it, because some of the weeds will actually benefit your plants. They grow like a companion to your gardening. Now, there is a flip side or a flip side concept to this whole thing, and the flip side of it is sometimes soils become imbalanced or they become toxic. What farmers will generally do is they will let the field where they grow the crops go fallow for a year. In other words, they just let all the plants grow wild and do their thing, and at the next year they take them down and then they plant their corn. And the reason why they do that is to bring balance back to the soil, and you do that by letting the land go fallow. But in the world of gardening, sometimes what happens is in our pots, in our soil, in our gardens, sometimes what happens is not only you get an imbalance in soil, but you also get an imbalance in moisture levels in soils, because the soils will sometimes get what's known as perched water tables, or they get just different problems in moisture control in the soil. It's too sandy, it's too loomy, it's too dirty, it's too muddy, too clay-like. There's too many problems in the soil for your plants to really thrive in it. They're healthy, but they're not really growing right because of moisture control conditions. And sometimes allowing some of the weeds to grow around your plants as your young starts are coming up, sometimes this actually helps the plant. You might plant your fresh starts out into your garden, you notice that they're stunting. Well, that's because either it could be either allelopathic effects, it could also be imbalance in the soil, but it could also be an imbalance in moisture conditions. When the weeds are growing around a plant, a lot of times it allows your plant to A, become competitive with the weeds around it, and B, it allows the moisture to kind of balance out along with other issues in the soil, allowing your fresh vegetables to actually get that start it needs to start growing and put its roots past the imbalance and deep into the soil and get to that soil that is healthy and good for your plants. So sometimes weeds are actually beneficial for your plants. It's actually good to let weeds grow around your plants. It's hit or miss. I've done it both ways. I've let weeds actually grow around plants that were kind of like getting stunty and all, and then I let all the weeds grow around it, and then that plant would suddenly start doing good. So sometimes you have to do that. You have to read the situation when it's called for it. You can plant a tomato plant by itself and it does really bad. And all of a sudden, heck with that tomato, you walk away from it, you forget about it. Next thing you know, the weeds are coming up around it, and all of a sudden the tomato plant starts doing good. Sometimes you have to do that because you create plant competition. Sometimes allelopathy or anti-allelopathy effects are taking place, as well as controlling the moisture in the soil. Sometimes soil can be too moist. There might be too much of a good thing in your soil, and it's too moist, and it's not good for your plant. Your plant don't like it, and it stunts out. And by the weeds growing in there, it brings that balance. It's a flip side to it. I know I'm getting a little off in that concept and everything, but you really need to understand what allelopathy is, how it works, how it can affect your gardening and your fruit trees if you're somebody who grows fruit trees for fruit production. And you need to understand a little bit about that and what kind of plants would actually benefit your fruit trees. I just basically wanted to touch base with you on the allelopathy part of it. If you guys are interested in it, there are a couple websites that talk about allelopathy in depth. Allelopathy is generally mostly referred to in the aquatic world, like ponds and fish tanks and things like that. That's where the concept is really big, because in the pond world or your fish tank world or the aquarium world, the plants produce that chemical and they flood the water with that chemical. And so other plants will die off because of that reason. And it's a very big concept in the aquarium world. But in the gardening world, nobody really talks about it. So that's why I'm bringing it up, just so you understand the concept, and you might see a problem with your plants, and you might want to consider this option as to a source of remediation to try to deal with the problem. So that's why I'm bringing it to your attention. But I do plan on maybe doing a video in the future specifically about allelopathy itself and kind of read through some of the articles on it, the main points. I got to sit down and highlight all the main points so I can skip through it, because there's a lot of information about it, and I really want to give you the meat and potatoes of it, and I don't want to like bore you with my talking videos. But I talk in my videos because I'm trying to share information. I don't even care about what I'm filming. I'm just kind of just narrating for you so you can at least understand what I'm talking about. So we'll do something in the future on it. If you're really interested in allelopathy, you can look it up online, or if you want to comment below, you have some information about allelopathy or you know a little bit about it, share your thoughts and your understandings of it. So I hope that video was a little bit informational to you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and visit hrseeds.com for your seeds, and I'll see you on the next one.